So we've got our sun, we've got our solar system, we've got our solar system as part of a galaxy, then we've got other galaxies out there, and there's a few dwarf galaxies that we've actually absorbed into the Milky Way. The Milky Way is like a giant city that has expanded to absorb a bunch of neighboring smaller towns and cities. So these neighboring galaxies, there's two really prominent ones that you can see if you go to the southern hemisphere, so the south of the equator. You can see them in the night sky. They're two little smudges. We call them the Magellanic Clouds. So because Magellan, as he was sailing around, saw these things. You can see them with your eye. They're dwarf galaxies. They're large and small Magellanic Clouds. They are dwarf galaxies, and there's several of them that are, orbiting around us, in between us. So we've got Milky Way, you've got Andromeda, and you've got a bunch of other kind of little towns out there, little county-sized galaxies floating around in between us. All these together, including the Triangulum galaxy, another nearby galaxy, is called the local group. It's about 50 galaxies, okay? About 50 galaxies make up what we call the local group. So that's your first vocab word. Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum, and all the little dwarf galaxies. We call that the local group of galaxies. This is Andromeda Galaxy. There's one of its dwarf galaxies, satellite galaxies orbiting it. All of these stars that you see are in our galaxy. Okay, they're in between us and the Milky Way, and they show up in the picture. We can't get rid of them. But you can see in this picture, too, all the different colors. You got a blue and an orange and a red and white, all the different colors of stars that we're going to study. Okay, and then you zoom out into what we call the Virgo Cluster, or the Virgo Supercluster, which is what our local group. There are other local groups of galaxies, and they're all together in part of something that we call the Virgo supercluster. And there's actually another one called the Laniakea supercluster that they're gravitationally related to each other. So they're orbiting a common center of gravity, or we can see that they have an influence on each other. So that's how we sort of classify a structure in the universe, is at what point do they stop interacting with each other. So we've got our home base, our sun, the solar system, other solar systems that make up the Milky Way galaxy, other galaxies nearby that make up the local group, and then those local other groups of galaxies make up a cluster or a supercluster. And we are in the Virgo supercluster, or sometimes it's been updated now to the Laniakea supercluster. Okay. This is really awesome, but that's the large-scale structure of the universe. The biggest things are galaxy clusters, and the smallest things are our little stars and planets and little tiny people, mud balls floating around in space.